We'll start pivot tables and pivot charts, and we'll see how we can do this manually as well as through VBA code. We need data for that. Jan, Feb, simple, then Samsung, LG, Toshiba, and Sony. Let us have the sales data uh, for these companies. Let us assume that this is the data we have as a sales for each manufacturer for each month. Now, if we have to create a pivot table, then we need to select the data and go to insert pivot table. Pivot table. For creating pivot chart also we need a pivot table. Okay. This is the range where we want to create a pivot table for this data. And where you want it on a new worksheet or you want on the existing worksheet. For now, let us take it on the existing worksheet and we'll place the pivot data here. So it has selected. If you take a new worksheet, then you have to select a new workbook and a range also. Okay, it has created a pivot table. Here you can give the name of the pivot table, and from here you can select which columns you want. So it has summarizes the data. See, 256 2594, 256 2594, 2270934. So it has summarizes the data. Why do we use pivot tables? The main thing is to summarize the data from a large data set. The same thing we can do through a VBA code. Let us remove this.
Irfan, through pivot table only we can summarize the data, or it can perform any other function also?
Or mainly it is for summarizing the data.
Okay.
First of all, we need to select a sheets of dot select activate, then select a range A1 to E14 dot select, then we need to use active workbook dot pivot caches dot create, and you can generate this by using a by recording a macro. It gives you the same code what we are going to type here. Cell database, otherwise we can mention source type is equal to Excel database, comma, source data. You can see here, right, what are the arguments we need to pass. Source data is equal to it is in pivot tables, and we need to give the range this way. R1 C2 column 2 to row 14, row 14, and a column 1 2 3 4 5. Then need to mention the version. Excel pivot table version. Pivot table version. Let us try with the version 12. Dot create pivot table. I think we'll
Irfan, you have written source date in place of source data.
okay. Create pivot table, then table destination. Table destination is the same sheet, but the location is different. It is row 1, then column is column 7. Row 1, column 7. Then we can mention the pivot table name here. Maybe just table name. Test pivot, comma, then default version. This is very long. Default version is equal to Excel pivot table version 12. If you have a 2013, then you can use 15. Okay. Then we need to say active workbook dot show pivot table field list is equal to true. Let us try this code first, then we'll add the fields. Now it has created a pivot table with the name test pivot. Okay. Now instead of selecting from here, we'll do that through a code. Active sheet dot pivot tables of what is the name test pivot table. Test pivot dot add data field where active sheet dot pivot tables of the test pivot is the table name, pivot table name dot pivot fields, yes, fields of Samsung Let us try this one. Oh, okay. Doesn't match. What is wrong here? Active sheet dot pivot tables of table name dot add data field 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 active sheet of pivot tables of test pivot field fields of Samsung. So it should add Samsung. So it has added a Samsung. Okay, it has added this. The same thing, if we want to add more fields, just change the field name. Next is if we want only Sony and LG. Okay. But it is not giving summarized results. To add a summary field, we need to add here, comma, sum of Samsung is the label, comma, Excel sum. And same thing will add for Sony and LG. Okay. If you record the macro, you'll get almost the same code. Uh, First of all, record a macro, pivot tables, then select data, then go to insert, pivot table, and if you want a new worksheet or existing worksheet, then select fields which you want to see, and then stop the macro. Okay. The only thing here is it did not give any table name. Okay, it is there. Test pivot. Maybe this is ours. Okay, it is here. This is generated by macro and it is almost same. So you don't have to remember, just you need to remember how to create a pivot table so that you can record. It has created with the name pivot table 2 and it has done the same way. For creating charts, if we are creating a pivot charts, then you need a pivot table. Let us remove this and see how it is generating a pivot chart. Okay. Select a range which and on existing sheet, let us say we'll do it here. At least 2 rows of source data. Okay, now it is good. No, field name is not valid. Okay, now existing sheet and we want it here. Okay. So for creating a pivot chart, we need a pivot table. Even you can get this pivot table data from external sources, from different data sources. That is the advantage of pivot tables. So this is from the local sheet or local workbook. Now we'll try to get the data from different sources like SQL Server or some MS Access or some other data source. Go to Insert, Pivot Table, then use an external data source. Choose Connection. Browse for more. If it is not available here, right now it is showing all the connections available. Browse for more. It will take you to the connections. We'll connect to a new data source or a SQL server. When we have a SQL server, so we'll see if we can get some data from there.
Hello? Irfan?
Yep.
Okay, your voice was not audible, so okay,
Yeah.
that's
Give me 1 minute.
okay.
Okay. We need something with the numbers. Um, I don't think this will work, but we can import Excel file. We'll import a Excel file in a SQL Server, then we can generate that. From here, import data. From Microsoft Excel and browse where it is. Query timelines me. Okay. String DSN driver. Okay. Mhm. More tables of use. Hmm. No, this is not the workbook. We're trying. No. Okay. We'll do one thing. We'll try working with these numbers only. Set pivot table from external, and we'll use SQL Server for that. New SQL Server connection. Server name need to get from here. Okay. This is the complete server name. Use Windows authentication. Okay. We need this database SS2012. In this, we'll use the joining details table. Okay. Okay. It is coming on sheet 4, A1. Okay. These are the columns. Okay. So, this is how we get the external data. The same way we can do with the MS Access and other Excel files just by creating a connection. So it is not necessary that data should be on your Excel file. Connect to new data source and select. You can even create a ODBC for any other database like Oracle, Sybase, DB2, any other database, and get the connection. We'll try to create, but here I don't see any MS Access. Is there? No. So you can create a connection on this workbook as well as on this on this computer as well as on the network. On this computer, these are the only connections available. So this is the one which we have created. If you want more, this is the only way to create more. These are the available drivers right now for creating. The red ones, what is it? I don't see anything for MS Access. Connect to MS Access. You can create MS Access directly from other tabs. It should be data. Okay, from MS Access. Uh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Pivot table report. The existing worksheet. Test city and these two columns. So almost you can get create pivot tables from any other data source. This is access. If you want to get it from the web, you can get it from the web. They'll provide you the IP address and the uh, port number, everything. But most likely you are not going to get that. Even you can get from a text file. Um,
How does the data come from the web, Irfan?
like you need to provide the URL, port number, then they'll give the database name, they'll give the link that you can use here.
So is it like it's we are reading the XML sheet of that HTML sheet or something like that of that web page, or how do we get that data?
Will be connecting to the database on the network. Like have you heard about the web services?
Yeah. So it's like a web service integration, right?
Right.
Okay. So the Excel will create its own form of an XML to hit the, to integrate with those exposed web services.
Right. Finally, we'll
Oh,
see the only data because
right.
creating a pivot table or pivot chart.
Correct. Okay.
So even we can get from text. Let us see that. Uh, I'll copy and paste this uh, months here. Then copy and paste it. Uh, Text file is here. We'll save this file on desktop with the name pivot data. Okay, from text file, it is on desktop. We saved on desktop, I believe. Where did it go? This PC desktop trading. Training pivot data. Okay, it's a delimited. Then it has a space between the columns. So how it is identifying? If it is if the data is divided by comma, then select comma or space semicolon, whatever it is. Right now it is tab delimited. So this is the data coming from. Now you can create a pivot table out of it or create a pivot chart. So for months, this is the month. From other sources, you can create, you already know how to create a ODBC, and from ODBC, you can get any data. including SQL Server, MS Access, Oracle, everything. If you want to see what are the existing connections, you can click here. We have created for a text file. This is for the SQL Server connection. This is we have created to another Excel file. I'm sorry. So this is about pivot tables and pivot charts. And usually, if the client needs a pivot table, then they will ask at least one question on pivot tables. So I think I have already sent interview questions, and I'm sure there is one question about the pivot table. So before the interview, just try generate a macro and keep it in front of you, so that if they ask you how will you create a pivot table, then just you can look at this and you can explain them how you are generating. Like just say that active workbook.pivot caches dot create, and we need to pass these parameters. But most likely, what is the use of pivot tables? That type of questions they may ask. Mm, Then what else is calculation? And we can also generate uh, uh, normal charts from here. So I think you already know, and the same thing, record a macro and generate any type of charts. Maybe just select and create one. So this is how we create a chart. And if you record this, then it is only a few lines of code. Just we'll do that through a macro, record macro, create charts, select the data on which you want to create a chart, insert, and select type of chart you want. So, so it is very simple. From the shapes, it is adding a chart and need to provide the range and chart type. These are the only three arguments we need to pass to the charts. The good thing is you can copy as it is macro from uh, for this pivot tables, charts, this type of things. But there are few things where which we cannot record macro. Like if we are working on some other workbook, you cannot record here. There are few things which we cannot do through a macro. So for that, definitely you have to search on the Google to how to get that. Then calculations. This is calculations are sometimes make your workbook or your operation slow, or sometimes it may take a few minutes to an hour. Sometimes we may have to stop or cancel the calculations. Let us say if you have 100,000 rows and you have 10 columns with the different formulas, and if you change any of the formula in any of the column, what Excel does is it tries to recalculate every time. Even if you change one formula, it is going to recalculate the whole sheet. To control that, we have like manually we can do that by here. In those cases, first select manual and make your changes. When you are done with the Excel sheet, then go for calculate sheet or calculate now. Calculate now will calculate the whole workbook, whereas calculate sheet will calculate the current sheet. And usually it is on automatic. And this is also available here in the Excel options. Formulas. Okay, workbook calculation. By default, it is on automatic. You can set it to manual and recalculate before saving. Like whenever you are saving the workbook, it is going to recalculate the whole workbook, all the worksheets. So usually it is on automatic, and if there are only few formulas, then okay. But if it is taking more time, then change the workbook calculation to manual and do your calculations. And also you can control this with the macro also. Active workbook dot calculations. Calculations. Maybe we have to use application. Okay. Calculate is equal to Excel manual is there. In this way you can control through a macro also. Let us see if it works. Function or variable. Sometimes is equal to doesn't work, so in that case you may have to use a bracket. Wrong number of arguments. No. Then what happened to IntelliSense? This looks application.calculate method property. this if we want to calculate that, but even we can change it to okay, this same thing, but instead of manual, it is calculation. Excel calculation manual, and you even also have automatic, should be there, automatic, manual, semi-automatic. Okay. So either we use manual or automatic to uh, play with the worksheet calculations. And also we can see we can see other things like calculate full, calculate before save. If you need it, you can use those kind of uh, methods with the application event. Nothing else. Okay. So mainly either we have to set it the manual or automatic. That should keep you working on the workbook. So otherwise sometimes it may stop your work by calculating and recalculating and making the range dirty. Okay. Like if we do not calculate, let us say this is a formula, this number, yeah, it is a formula, right? When we are changing a formula and we are putting the calculation state to manual, so let me say one. So what will happen is this cell is dirty now because it has not been calculated. In terms of Excel, it is said to be dirty when you make a change to a cell and you do not calculate that worksheet. And so you guys have any questions?
Irfan, I just didn't get like when you said that we have to convert the formula to manual and then automatic. When we are supposed to use, like when we just have to change the value of one row where a formula is applied.
Let us say there are 10 columns and all the 10 columns are having a formula, and we have 100,000 rows in a sheet where you are editing a formula or changing a formula. So if you change a formula, then automatically it is going to recalculate all the 10 columns of 100,000 rows. That may take about 10 minutes. And if you want to change a formula for another column, then again 10 minutes gone. So for that, make the sheet calculation to manual, then make your changes, then save it. So at the time of saving, again it is going to recalculate all the formulas.
Okay, so when we will save, like when we change it to automatic and when we just save the sheet, automatically all the 100,000 rows will be affected with the new formula.
Right. Or otherwise you can go here and you can calculate the sheet or calculate now you can use.
Okay.
So any other questions? So this is about the survival, how to survive after getting a project. For getting a project, you guys have to crack the interview. How you are going to crack the interview? By preparing for the interview questions. Search online. Whatever I have sent, those are commonly asked, but there are several other questions which are available on Google search engine. You can find several other questions. Try to prepare that. Try to by heart the answers or copy and keep it in a place where you can refer at before the interview. And especially what I have sent, and keep the providers list of providers in front of you. Keep the cursors, four cursors, four locks of ADO connections. Keep in front of you. Like if you don't remember or if you forget at the time of interview, just refer it. Uh, if it is not a face-to-face telephonic interview, then you can look at your screen and you can answer that. But you have to prepare for the interview questions. And second thing is you have to be good in first two projects which you mentioned in the resume. Most of the questions are going to come from your first two uh, projects mentioned in the resume. Um, I'll open one of the resumes which Sunsoft has sent. More labels. The first question in the interview will be, tell me about yourself. So you should tell about what you have done in the past. Start from your recent project and say that you have enhanced and supported existing Excel and MS Access applications developed in VBA, created MS Access databases, then created forms, reports, queries. Just keep on telling whatever you have mentioned on your resume until they stop you, and use technical terminology while explaining what you have done, so that they reduce the technical questions on you. If you use terminology while explaining yourself, then they'll know that, oh, you already know technically, so they'll not ask much questions. One time in New York, it happened in face to face. Like the interviewer was having some list of questions, and it was a half an hour interview. But after asking sixth question, uh, he questioned the seventh one, and he stopped me. No, no need to ask any question to you. You are selected, he said. So that is how, like, if you keep on telling the terminology, technical terminology using with your past experience, then they'll understand that you already know. So no need to ask you much. It may happen. And your half an hour interview may finish in 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And usually it's a half an hour interview. If they feel that you are not good, or if you answer 2 to 3 questions wrong, then they'll uh, say that they don't have any more questions, and they may finish off the interview early. So basically, you have to explain about your whatever you're putting in the current two projects, and especially this is called the recent project. So mostly they want to know about your recent project, and what will happen is whenever you're applying for a position, what a vendor does is they'll make changes according to the requirement. Like if a client needs a pivot tables, then they'll add a pivot tables in your responsibilities. If client wants only 2013 version, then they'll make changes to 2013, 2010. Those kind of changes will be there. So try to get the resume which have been submitted to the client. Any questions about interview? Okay. By
Irfan,
yeah,
hi, I have a question.
yeah.
So when you're explaining the job requirements, do you think they might ask like what your day-to-day schedule like duties might look like?
Yeah,
Okay. So we would have to know the duties of every project like really well, right?
yeah. This is what we have mentioned here, right? Like all the resume should look like this, and it should have the responsibilities. And at the time of interview, keep a resume handy, and don't tell one by one. Okay, don't
Mm-hmm.
continue one by one. Pick it from somewhere here, then here, and try to play with the words. Don't say the sentence as it is mentioned in the resume.
Right. Do you think would they ask about any specific project?
Recent projects. Recent two
Okay.
projects. Mostly recent two projects. If it's if a Indian interviewer is a Indian, then he may ask uh, more than two recent projects, and he may ask you about your first project also, whatever is mentioned. Even he may go 10 years back and he may pick and say that you have created objects using ADO to connect backend SQL Server database. In which project you did that? So,
Right. Yeah.
so typically, if Indian is taking your interview, then I believe there is a less chance of getting selection.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we basically have to know the resume inside out.
Right, right. Yeah.
So,
They
Irfan, they
try to
might be
figure out
asking
whether you
questions
fit.
related to.
Yeah. Yeah. Continue your question.
Myself?
No, somebody was saying something. So,
Yeah, I had a question.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so they might be asking questions on, what kind of data did you handle? What was the purpose? And, so we should be knowing
Yes.
some details on that aspect.
Right.
Mhm. So maybe, when you say whichever project you pick up, so, we should be getting enough information on that from Google or anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. Like, only put those things which you are comfortable with and which you can explain to the interviewer. Don't put something just copying from some other's resume and putting it here. And when you're not able to explain that, then there is a chance of getting a negative result on interviews. And whatever the projects you mentioned, remember what is the name of the client, when to when you have worked. Like sometimes they ask like uh, before State Street Corporation, on which project have you worked? Only if it is a Indian. I'm talking about the Indian interviewer. If it's a white guy, American guy, then very good chances of getting a project. But if it's a Indian interviewer, then he may ask you anything from anywhere from your resume, and you can expect any type of questions, including the scenarios. Like they may tell you the scenarios. If this is the situation, how will you do that? Those kind of things. Now, anyway, you will be knowing beforehand who is going to take your interview. But mainly, Indians like they try to because they already know that most of the Indians fake their resumes. That is the reason why they try to figure out whether it's a fake resume or a genuine. Any other questions? So prepare technically, prepare on your resume, and see what requirement you have. Let me show you some of the requirements we get. Purpose of role needs to be a keen problem solver, analysis of wealth products to identify historical transactions which may have contributed. So this is nothing to do with us. Like whatever may be the project, we should be able to do that. Validate our model data with the purpose of understanding or making conclusion for. Here we missed one thing in Excel, that is data validations. Let me copy this.
Irfan, if it's a long topic, can we do it tomorrow?
Um, it's a small thing. It's a small thing. Suppose here, this is the sheet which is having a master data information, and suppose here you want to restrict users. Instead of typing it manually, you want to give a combo box like thing. We have combo box and list box, right? The same way in the sheet we can make it a uh, type of a combo box. We can convert each cell into a type of combo box. Go to data validation, but before that, you know, right, how to create a range. Select only the data for which you need to create a range. I'll say project name and select the cells where you want that list to be. Then go to data tab and go to data validation and select list and name of the range. Project name is the range name which we have given. So whenever user clicks on that cell, they'll have a range here, but it has not worked. Data validation list is equal to project name. Okay, now it is giving the list. So so that they can select from a list. And also you can set a input message box or error alert, warning, stop information, something like if they don't select or if they try to type, you can raise an error. Select from list. So you can pass the message. So instead of selecting, if user tries to type and it doesn't allow the user to add manually. Please select one from the drop down list. This is the message we type, and this is the heading we gave. Okay. So during the project we'll be using that. So any other question before winding up the class? So, and they may ask that have you created any kind of documentation? You should reply yes. It is very easy to create documentation, and that will come at the end of your project, like last week or last 2 weeks. So nobody is going to ask you how you did, what you did. Just say that you have created technical documentation, data flow documentation, all the flows. Okay. Using strong Excel VBA skills and analytical skills, analyze and manipulate data and extract reports. This is the main thing which they are looking for that role. And let me see some more. Let's see. Okay. This is one of the MS Access database and Excel report writer. It's a simple requirement. They are not asking anything. Just they want MS Access, Excel, and report writing. We'll be creating not too complicated Access database, pulling in data from Excel spreadsheets and formatting them into a Access database. We'll be writing reports primarily from MS Access database. We'll be creating Excel templates. Uh, Perform analysis, design, coding, and testing for Excel-based applications. Interact and communicate objectives, progress, and status of project with all stakeholders, that is users. Use methods and techniques for obtaining solutions, resolving here. Tools and technology expertise. Microsoft Excel 2010 and later. VBA, macros, advanced formulas and functions. ADO, ADO.NET. So when you guys are good with VBA, just try to uh, get some knowledge from .NET also, VB.NET. That will help you in VBA. Though .NET is very vast, but still basics are you have already learned the basics of .NET. Whatever the VBA programming we learned, the same programming works in .NET also, but .NET has more vast functions and more things to do. Even sometimes you may have to create a class in .NET and that you have to reference in the your VBA, Excel or MS Access. So they are asking about ADO, ADO.NET. Definitely you guys doesn't know. So, but anyway, for the junior positions, nobody will ask. Controls, data tables, simulations, Excel integration, optimization, advanced charting, pivot tables, reporting, dashboarding. C# again, it is from .NET. This looks to be a junior position. 5+ years VBA design and development experience required. What they are looking for: develop, document, and test VBA code to automate manual process. Financial control process is a plus. advanced knowledge of VBA, Excel, and Access. So this is a simple requirement. So this is not for you guys. And another thing, like you guys have to be good in the SQL queries. And I think I have sent the SQL interview questions also. Most likely they'll ask a question on joins, SQL joins, joining two tables, three tables, multiple tables. Okay. Extensive knowledge of coding using VBA in Excel Access database, and also you should have a knowledge on writing SQL queries. SharePoint, that's fine. And you can say yes, on the SharePoint, it's easy to learn how to upload the files on the SharePoint or how to download from the SharePoint, because already you guys know how to attach files in email. The same way we have to do that in the SharePoint. Nothing big deal. So just say yes, you know SharePoint, you have worked on SharePoint. VBA coding for interaction with the mainframes. Don't. This is nothing but mainframes uses a DB2 database. And remember one thing, whatever may be the database, you only one line of code will change. That is the provider. Only provider will change with the database. Rest of the things are similar. So you don't have to worry which database they are using. Whether it's MS Access, Oracle, Sybase, DB2, anything. Okay. Just provider or driver will be different for connecting to different databases, but rest of the code is same. Same SQL queries work on all the database. That is the structured query language used by all the databases. This is noise. You will be responsible for production support and enhancement of several complex Microsoft Access applications written in VB6 with Access UI and MS Access or Oracle backends. Whatever may be the backend, we don't have to worry about it. Okay. It's VB6 is nothing but whatever we have learned in VBA. That is the same code. We are using VB6 technology in our VBA code. And most of our roles will be directly working with the layman's. Most of our tools we will be generating for a layman. Most likely it's not going to be in a big team or small team. And especially what I have worked is mostly, like, except one or two projects, rest of the projects were I have done it individually, directly with the client, with the end users, and reporting to the uh, either reporting manager or project manager. So very good knowledge of SQL is needed for the data processing components. So remember, these are the three things, and another is Excel. These are the four things which you have to be get ready before the interview. See, everywhere Access, SQL Server, and Excel. Whatever may be database, but still we need the SQL queries to communicate with the tables. Even in MS Access also we need to know the SQL queries to pull the data from tables. I think it is enough for today. If anybody,
Fun. Yeah, can you send the file for today?
sure.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend, and
You too.
tomorrow same time 9:30.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.